That's what I would be. That's what I would take myself, just to be sure I have enough omega-3 and 6.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Don, as well. And fish is becoming more and more, the seas are so overfished, and there's problem with pollution and mercury and all these things that, I mean, I do eat fish myself as well. But if you're feeling sick after something, my opinion would be then don't do it, because there's a uh, reason why you're feeling sick. Somebody says it's their first lesson tonight, so this is actually the fourth lesson. So you should catch up on the other three. They're on YouTube, and our next course is open for registration on the 9th. So everybody that wants to, and tell all your friends, please go to the website and see the link there, and let all your. I'll be posting it on Facebook tomorrow and starting some advertising. But tell all your friends about it. We'll be starting the course again on the 9th. Uh,
Jean-Pierre's asking, did we talk about waffles? He didn't understand, Jean-Pierre being in France.
Maybe
Uh,
Warfarin he would
are you
talking.
waffling, Noel?
I'm always waffling down. I spend my life waffling, So maybe it was Warfarin that.
Warfarin, that was it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Okay.
don't take waffles to thin your blood pressure. They just won't work, But or to thin your blood. But no, Warfarin was the thing.
Okay. There was somebody mentioned the pain in the elbow and the knee because they had had a break. And bones are vata tissue, and breaks are a very much provocation of vata, and pain is a vata issue. So perhaps if you had a little bit more rest, the bones might heal all the quicker. But certainly things like the oil massage and the vata diet would be something else. To rub in the joint soothe oil with some inhalation oil drops in it. The inhalation oil would be helpful for pain. So if you put it into the joint soothe oil, which is absorbed, it would make it more effective. And Miriam has vertigo, 2 instances in the past 2 weeks, but he also has Parkinson's disease, this gentleman. Again, vata conditions, so maybe he just needs a little bit more of the vata routine to help, but he needs a lot of vata treatment for his Parkinson's.
So Florence asked, "What's the right order of the morning routine?" We get this question all the time. Don't get stuck up on it. I scrape the tongue, brush the teeth, do the oil pulling. That's the routine I did. I don't see the point in brushing the teeth and then scraping the tongue, because then you're just loosening up more stuff. So scrape the tongue, brush the teeth, do the oil pulling, rinse the mouth. That's the way I do it. The doctors might do it differently, but as I say, don't get too hung up on it.
And Mary's talking about her circulation. Her fingers and toes are completely numb. Again, Mary, vata. Do your oil massage, and then take hot spices in your cooking, because the spices, ginger, pepper, little bit of curry powder, those sort of things are heating. And I think we've had this question in other courses, and I sort of remember Raj and Naheed having nice thoughts about it. Cold, numb. What do you suggest, ladies? I ask about circulation because my fingers and toes are completely numb. Can you recommend anything?
Few things really. Vata balancing, as you said already, and regular use of ginger and honey, black pepper if you can. That will be regular with your food anyway. Using turmeric spices if you can in your cooking, or turmeric ginger drink. So that's the vata balancing, but you can take other circulation boosting herbs, which could be gotu kola, ashwagandha, shankpushpi. So is there a combination of herb in one? I'm thinking if we have a herbal preparation that has all of these in one thing. I think Youthful Mind probably has those, even though it's for mind, but it will help with the
Yeah.
circulation.
Youthful Mind has this
Yeah,
one.
MA3,
MA3.
MA3.
Yeah,
Okay, I
and
think
my favorite recommendation is, of course, your long johns. Keep your
Johns.
warm.
Yeah.
Chyawanprash works very well. Chyawanprash, regular Chyawanprash, because of pipali in it and amla in it.
Yeah, it's all a vata condition, So
Yeah.
oil massage will be very good. Abhyanga will be very good for it as well. Yoga asanas will be very good for it. So just before we start, we'll start our video now. Karen and Billy says the national group meditation is on Saturday at 11 a.m. for TMR. So let me go check that with Joe Hayden while we're playing the video, and and then we can let people know at the end of this exactly when it's on, because Karen and Billy I know they go to Joe Hayden, so they're obviously of the opinion it's on Saturday. So that's probably what it is. So I'll check with Joe. We can give an answer then. Okay, so we've 4:21 on the call. I think we need to get started. It's 7:45. Yeah, we better get started. So if the doctors are happy for me to go ahead. Now, this is a video we made a good while back on Kapha towards the end of last year. We'd already done this video. So it starts off not at the very beginning. It starts off with Dr. Brennan's presentation, then Dr. Naheed's, and then Dr. Rajvinder's. And then there's a live Q&A or a Q&A on it, but we'll stop the Q&A and we'll do our own Q&A at the end of the talk. So again, please everybody.
Well, Karen or Billy are telling 13th March.
Oh, 13th of March.
So you don't have to check, yeah.
Okay, don't have to check. 13th of March. Okay, I thought it said this Saturday. Okay, so listen, switching the cameras off the last few times has worked well. It's meant there's been no interruption, so no harm if people just want to switch their camera off. You don't need it on during the presentation anyway, and then you can put them on later on. So here we go. I'll mute myself here.
Okay, and I'll be able to share screen without no.
Oh,
I hear that.
okay. Will you be able to share screen? Okay.
Oh, that was from before.
All of us.
You will now. Yeah, you will.
On the ball. Okay, thank you, Noel, and good evening, everybody. By way of introduction, let me just give the full overview of the field of Ayurveda. It's a vast and wonderful knowledge that is always worth a recap and reminding ourselves just how deep, how profound, how holistic this great perspective and what wisdom it can give us in terms of our own well-being and in terms of us taking care of our family and friends. So when we think about medicine, we see a field of knowledge that is reductionist, which means it divides everything down into its components parts and then divides those into their component parts, and it goes on. And the idea behind it is that when you understand all the parts, you have it all sussed. And unfortunately, that has become a bit of a cul-de-sac for medicine because there's increasing incidence of many chronic diseases, heart disease, asthma, allergies, diabetes, obesity, ADHD, dementia, just increasing dramatically the incidence of these over the last 5 decades, and medicine hasn't made any progress with these chronic illnesses. Unfortunately, the medicines that have emerged are at most symptomatic for these sort of conditions. And that is because of a failure of medicine to look at the whole. Now, for example, if you take the medical approach to nutrition, you will find that it's divided into vitamins and minerals and calories and you know, all this advice to take so much of a vitamin and so much of a mineral is based on the fact that that will have an effect in the body. But it's incomprehensible, the effects that these vitamins, minerals, proteins, fats have in our diet. For example, when you take food, you take thousands, tens of thousands of ingredients. They're met by tens of thousands of chemicals in our gut in the process of digestion. They're absorbed and meet innumerable possible processes in the body. And you cannot know what any one chemical is going to do because each chemical and its interactions affect all the other chemicals, and the body functions as a whole, and the body is an ecosystem. And this ecosystem of the body has to survive in a huge ecosystem of our environment. And that's why it's so wonderful to have a science like Ayurveda, which deals not just with the reductionist perspective on the parts, but it has the perspective of the whole. And then, what is the whole? Well, the whole universe, according to physics, is derived not merely from the material, but the material ultimately is energy. And there are fundamental fields of energy, according to the most advanced of our science, physics, which has sort of been more foremost in understanding more fundamental levels of our existence. The energies are understood ultimately to be arising from fundamental fields, and there are basically three, if you like, three aspects of very fine particles in field. There's bosons, fermions, and the gauge symmetry at the basis of quantum physics. And beyond that, there are 5 spin particles. And then beyond that, we come to one glorified, unified field. In other words, according to physics, there's one fundamental source of everything in the universe. And that includes you. That fundamental source gives rise to all of our physiologies, as well as the solar system and the galaxies. One fundamental source, which Ayurveda, thousands of years ago, described with incredible clarity in terms of 5, not spin particles, fundamental elements, they were called. Space, air, fire, water, and earth. 5 fundamental dynamics, particles, which we could equate because they're so similar to the quantum physics concept with the 5 spin particles. In the same sense, those 5 elements in Ayurveda gives rise to 3 fundamental dynamics. Ayurveda calls it Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And a quantum field theorist has done the thesis and said this descriptions from Ayurveda and quantum physics are so alike that it could not possibly have happened by chance. Basically, he does a probability analysis on it. So the reality is that Ayurveda is describing what physics is now coming to describe, except physics has dealt only with the objective world out there. And physics and the sciences fail to understand the one who's observing all of this. What is consciousness? There's no clear explanation within the modern sciences. However, there is a possibility for you, since you are ultimately that field, to allow the mind to quieten. And this is what the great scientists in ancient times were able to do, to observe the stilling, quietening, settling. And when the activity settles and the mind has quietened, the consciousness reaches a point where it transcends and is that wholeness, is that unbounded, absolute, eternal, immortal being outside the realm of space and time, and you just are. That serene and blessed mood in which the affections gently lead us on until the breath of this corporeal frame and even the motion of our human blood, we rest suspended and become a sleeping body and become a living soul, while with the eye of insight made lively, we see into the life of things. This is Wordsworth in Tintern Abbey. People with clear perspective experience this. The ancient scientists of Ayurveda described it so perfectly we can use it for our help, because that source is giving rise to the whole universe. It's giving rise to your physiology. All the dynamics, all the organizing principles, all the laws of nature that structure the universe are within you, structuring your physiology. And that's why you're using me, you're using Noah, you're using Rajvinder, Nahid, to remind you, to help you to recognize what you know you should be doing. That's our purpose here with Ayurveda. So to share my screen with you, this is what I'm talking about. At the basis is consciousness. And then we have our 5 senses. And through the senses, we experience everything that we experience in life. If you couldn't hear, see, smell, taste, and touch, you're dead. It's because of these senses you experience your thoughts, your emotions, you feel your emotions, you have your insights. And in the same way, then, when you project your awareness outwards, you see the universe around you. So the senses are fundamental, and they give rise to 5 fundamental dynamics within us. These interact, space and air, to become a dynamics called Vata. Fire element with a little bit of water become Pitta, and then there's a dynamics of Kapha. So Vata, Pitta, and Kapha are 3 fundamental processes that you use when you wish to create and construct and govern and become your body. This is how you do it. That field of consciousness starts to move, giving rise to a dynamics of movement, which is called Vata. That field of consciousness next has to transform, and transforms into your feelings and into your thoughts and your thought structure. That process of transformation is Pitta. And then there's an integrating influence that holds it all together as physical structure, and that's Kapha. And these are associated with a set of qualities. Vata's light, quick, moving, dry, cold, rough, irregular qualities, whereas Pitta, more hot, sharp, light fluids, slightly oily, and Kapha is heavy, slow, stable, cold, oily, soft. And according to your nature, in terms of these 3, you could be more Vata or more Pitta or more Kapha or have a combination. Then according to that nature, you will express more of these qualities. Like the lady on the top left, she's more light, quick, moving, dry, cold, rough. She'll be more sensitive, refined, artistic, more quick moving, quick ticking, quick, very feeling the cold, with perhaps a tendency to dry hair or rough skin. So these qualities would be seen more in that sort of an individual, whereas the man down in the left bottom corner, he's more Pitta, hot, with a very sharp mind, sharp gaze, sharp appetite. He's light, but not as light as Vata. And because he's feeling so hot, he loves the cold. He's out there skiing. And whereas the Kapha person, more heavy, slow, stable, so grounded, practical, easygoing. Manyan is the attitude to life. And so each of us have our own qualities, and each of us therefore have different needs in terms of the qualities that bring us balance, the qualities in food, in lifestyle, in diet. And that's the interesting thing about Ayurveda, because when we focus on the balance, when we get Vata and Pitta and Kapha balanced, we are at our best. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, we are awake, alive, and joyful. And that is our purpose. When Vata is balanced, the old texts from whom we take so much wisdom of Ayurveda, the old texts describe Vata in its normal state reflects enthusiasm, inspiration and expiration. It's what we take in, as well as what we give out, is all moved by Vata. Movements generally by Vata, normal metabolic transformation of tissues, proper elimination of excreta. This is a balanced Vata. Pitta, balanced, gives good vision, good digestion, normal temperature, normal hunger and thirst, softness in the body, luster, happiness, and intelligence. Kapha in the body, when it's normal, it gives good structure, good unctuousness or lubrication, binding, firmness, steadiness. It gives heaviness, it gives potency and virility, it gives strength, forbearance, restraint, patience, absence of greed. So tonight we're really focusing a little bit more on the balancing of Kapha, and who of all of you does not want your Kapha balanced, to have that strength and forbearance and patience and restraint. So these all have their influence at particular times as well. And Kapha seems to be at the start of everything. The first hour after a meal, start of digestion, you feel a bit sluggish and slow down and heavy, and that's kapha influence, that time. In the same way, the start of the day and the start of the night, from 6 until 10 in the morning, a little bit dull, heavy, this is kapha time. In the evening, you're quieting down, getting more settled again. That's kapha time again, from 6 until 10 at night. The start of the month for a lady during her menstrual phase of life, the start of the month when the womb is growing, and that's the first half of the monthly cycle is kapha, the start of the year, and this is where we're interested today. The start of the year from December to May is kapha time of the year. We want to know how to keep that balance. What are the qualities to integrate now to keep at our best? And at the start of life, for the first 21 years, that's a kapha time of life. Ultimately, we take everything on board, all our experiences, all our sight senses, all that we take in through the senses, all that we take in through the air we breathe, through the food we eat, and all, if we are balanced, are transformed in the body to create ultimately a finest essence of all the body tissues called ojas, which when we are so healthy is to create this in an ongoing fashion. We have no worries about coronavirus. Corona will get its comeuppance if it comes near us, because ojas maintains natural resistance and immunity. It's located in the heart and circulates. It fights aging, decay, and disease. It gives strength, power, and natural resistance. It's a superfine biological substance. It's actually a substance in the body that is a finest essence of all we've transformed. And it's going to depend on our lifestyle, on our stress, on trauma, and the quality of relationships. And that's why Ayurveda takes a very holistic perspective on all the different potentialities in our lives, whereby we can create health and get on with enjoying ourselves. And I'll hand you back to Noel, who is full of ojas.
Okay, Dr. Brennan, that's fantastic because it gave a great overview of actually the three doshas there. So it was a very good, because, you know, as Dr. Brennan said, consciousness manifests itself into 5 basic elements, and they are earth, air, fire, water, space. So everything in the manifest universe is created of these things. There's nothing that's not made from earth, air, fire, water, and space. In the manifest, not the unmanifest universe, but in the manifest universe. And they go together in different qualities in different people, and they form Vata, Pitta, Kapha. So that was a brilliant overview. I really like the slides and the pictures of the people. You could see just by looking at them the difference between them, and then we know by looking at the people around us, we can see Vata people, we can see Pitta people, and we can see Kapha people. So we know now from that as you say, Kapha is the start of everything, and it's certainly for the start of the year, and this is the start of the year. So we're going to hand over to Dr. Naheed. I'll just unmute Dr. Naheed, and so Dr. Naheed, if you just say something.
Yes, hi.
Okay, so you're unmuted. Okay, Dr. Naheed, so you go ahead and make your presentation on Kapha.
Thank you, Noel. And Dr. Brennan just has given an idea of all the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Especially, he has give a great emphasis on Kapha, its general function, like what time of the day and everything. And that was fantastic. So thank you, Dr. Brennan, as well. So this Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, each of them has the 5 different subtypes. So today I am going to talk about the subtype of Kapha, as we are in the Kapha season of the year. And based on the function, so these subtypes, how they have categorized these subtypes of doshas. So based on the function of a group of any doshas, it may be Pitta, Vata, and Kapha, they are subcategorized in 5 different categories. So I presume that these terms will be very new for many of you. So for that, I'm going to share my screen so that it will be easy to understand. And just give me 2 seconds.
We don't hear you. Is Noel still there? No.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what happened there. Can you hear me? Yeah. Sorry, Dr. Naheed, just hang on a second.
She's muted.
Yeah, no, okay, it comes back.
Muted me, I think.
No, I don't know how that happened. I didn't do it anyway, but you got muted somehow, you know. So, yeah, we just, when you shared your screen and the different 5 different subdoses of Kapha came up. So if you want to go back and start from there, Dr. Naheed.
Okay, no problem. So I just share my screen now. So the first subtype of Kapha dosha is Avalamba. So as I told previously as well, that these terminologies and these subcategories are based on the function they are doing inside the body. So Avalamba means to hold and to support, and they are located mainly in the upper part of the body, in the chest part and in between the shoulder bones. As you know that Kapha is the water element, and that present in our body in a fluid form. So I can correlate in the medical point of view that whatever the fluid is present inside the lungs, that's the pleural fluid and the pericardial fluids that can be correlated with Avalamba cough. They help to maintain the strength and the stability inside the body. And the second one is kledak. So kledak means to wet, to moisten, and they are present mostly in inside our stomach. So what they do is in the first hour of digestion, they help to moisten our food, they help to liquefy our food, and they also serves as a protecting layer to our stomach, so that it can protect us from the acidic all kinds of acid which secretes in our stomach to digest the food. So if someone is suffering with ulcer or the peptic and the duodenal ulcer, so it's not only pitta which is causing this problem, it can be the problem with your kledak cough as well. And the third one is bodhak. So bodhak means to to perceive. So it's present in the tongue, and it helps in the taste perception, and it helps to maintain the proper amount of saliva secretion. So if someone is suffering with excessive salivation, or they are not able to perceive the taste, so there is some problem with their bodha cup, especially with this coronavirus thing. The people are not getting any taste, they are like not able to taste food or anything, so there can be a problem with the bodha cough on those patients. And the fourth one is tarpak. So tarpak means to nourish. So it is present inside our head. It helps to nourish all the sense organs, so all the emotional behavior, all the peace, and to learn. Everything is done by this tarpak kapha. So if someone is feeling dull, and if someone is feeling not feeling fine, they are feeling depressed, so there can be a problem with their tarpak kapha. And the last one is sleshak. So sleshak means to lubricate. So they are present inside our joints in the form of synovial fluid. So they help in the proper articulation of our joints to keep it tight, firm, strong, and proper movement of our joints. So this is all I have to share. The next thing which I want to discuss is about the Kapha disorder. So how we will know that when is the time to balance our Kapha, what symptoms or the signs we experience in our body, and what health conditions. So Ayurvedic text has elaborated 20 specific type of Kapha disorder. And I'll just tell you the name of the few common one which we suffer in our day-to-day life. And that can be like if you're feeling too heavy, or if you're feeling lazy, or if you're feeling drowsy, or excessive cold sensation, or maybe you're feeling excessive of sleep. And these are the Kapha disorder situation. If you're suffering with indigestion and a medical condition called anorexia nervosa, that is also a Kapha disorder. And the taste perception, if you're not able to perceive taste properly, if you're having excessive salivation, so these are also kapha disorder. And atherosclerosis, where there is a cholesterol get deposited clog inside the vessels, this is also a kapha disorder. If you're someone has a kind of palpitation, they frequently experience this palpitation kind of sensation when they can hear their heartbeat, this is also a kapha kind of disorder. There are some respiratory issues, like you are having cough with a lot of expectoration, it means your kapha is imbalanced. And is Noel sharing his screen?
No, I'm
No,
not doing that.
it's happened more.
Sorry?
Scheduling made easy. I don't know what that is. Now we're back to normal.
Someone else shared a screen. I don't know what that was. Sorry, Dr. Naheed.
And if you're facing a mucus in your throat, that can be seen in conditions like post-nasal drip. So these are kapha situation. So when you're experiencing all these situations, all these problems, health conditions, then you can opt to balance your kapha, which Dr. Rajvinder will later give an idea how you can do that with the diet, lifestyle, and with herbs as well. And there are some skin condition like urticarial rash and the pale skin. So the next time when you find yourself that you are pale, that's not always because you're anemic, that can be a disorder of kapha as well. And the most important problem which we face very commonly in our land in this season is hay fever. So hay fever is nothing but the allergic rhinitis, in which any antigens or maybe any causative factor which are making you more sensitive, and you are having symptoms like runny nose, cough, cold, fever, and itchy eyes, conjunctivitis kind of thing, then you are like dealing with hay fever kind of condition. So you need to strengthen your immunity. When the kapha season is going to start, just prepare yourself so that even if you're catching some infection, you can fight with that really easily. And now Dr. Rajvinder can give you an idea how you are going to do that with diet, lifestyle, and so many things. So thank you. This is all from my end.
Thanks very much, Dr. Naheed. So for a lot of the people, even the people who've done our Ayurveda course, there's a lot of new information there, because in the initial course, we went into Vata, Pitta, Kapha, but we never went into the subtypes of Vata, Pitta, Kapha. So that's your first look at those. So maybe people thought that, they knew all they needed to know about Vata, Pitta, Kapha, but actually there's an awful lot more to learn about them, because they have subdoshas, and those subdoshas are located in different parts of the body. And when they go out of balance, they give rise to particular diseases and disorders. And for the new people here, some of this might seem very abstract. We talked about consciousness and consciousness manifesting itself into the 5 elements, and then the 5 elements being described in terms of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. But just to be clear, Ayurveda is both abstract and very practical. All diseases are associated with an imbalance of Vata, Pitta, or Kapha. Dis-ease is dis-ease. The system is no longer at ease with itself. Something has gone out of balance. And as I say, all diseases are associated with these imbalances of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And Jean-Pierre said in the text there I saw, he said, it seems that a lot of the COVID thing is associated with Kapha, and most definitely there's associated with Kapha. There are big problems for people with obesity, with diabetes, and with and asthmatic people as well, because this tends to attack the lungs, But, we're talking about Kapha here this evening, but we should remember that all diseases are associated with Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And now we're in this Kapha season. So if you are prone to Kapha imbalances, this is a time that you need to be a little bit careful and do things that maybe can help balance that Kapha. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand over to Dr. Rajvinder. So Dr. Rajvinder, I'm just going to unmute you. And if you just want to say hello, Dr. Rajvinder.
Yes, hello.
Okay, so Dr. Rajvinder, as I already said, she lives in Dublin. She's been in Ireland since 2007. She's an Ayurvedic doctor. She's incredibly experienced. She has thousands of patients at this stage that come to see her. So Dr. Rajvinder, I'll hand over to you, and you can give your presentation in relation to Kapha.
Thank you, Noel. Thank you, Dr. Don, and thank you, Dr. Naheed. So wonderful contribution to Kapha. Kapha is a lovely dosha. First of all, that's what I would like to say. When I talk to Kapha people, they say, I don't like myself Kapha. No, Kapha is a very positive, lovely dosha. Kapha people are very kind, very compassionate, very gentle, wonderful, loyal friends. So sometimes Kapha go a little bit out of balance. So that's what Ayurveda is here to help, how to keep Kapha in balance and how to keep weight, all of these diseases Dr. Nahid was talking about. It's very easy to bring it back into balance. So I'm going to share my screen.
I'm just going to allow sharing screen again because I just switched it off. So you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay, can you see it?
Yeah.
No, I need to go into the slide mode maybe.
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah. Second, I'm trying to do something. Okay. So we are here to talk about the seasonal routine, the change of the season we are experiencing, and it's on the way. So the Kapha time of the year is mainly December to May. So Kapha actually start, the winter time is Kapha. As we all know, the quality of the winter is heavy, cold, dull, sluggish, and so the qualities of Kapha, as you listen from Dr. Brannan's presentation. So we are now moving to springtime, which is from mid-February to mid-May. So in response to the season, these doshas changes. So as in the winter with all the Christmas and all the heavy food, and so all the accumulation of kapha happen. So naturally we put up some weight and that heaviness and dullness, and we want to snuggle in. We don't want to do too much exercise because of the accumulation of kapha happening in that season. And as the kapha is moving towards the spring, is the second response of the dosha will be perkopa, and perkopa is the natural aggravation. So because of the heat building up now in the spring, as the heat start coming up, this snowman, this kapha start melting. So this melting kapha wants to come out from the body through the nose, through the different channels, and that's when cold, cough, flu, hay fever, asthma, all of these problems are more dominant in the springtime because kapha is trying to come out of the body and balance itself. So that's where if we are aware of this change, we just change our diet and lifestyle a little bit and help the body to let this extra kapha get out. And the third is natural pacification. So with the change of the season, our doshas, it's not only kapha, vata, pitta, and kapha within their season, they go through three responses. So these are the responses, sanchya, prakopa, and prasara. So that's why the change in the diet and lifestyle help to assist these processes. And Ritucharya has a big significance, big importance in Ayurveda. So Ayurveda say 15 days before the season change, you start changing your diet and lifestyle. So the change in the season is easy on the body. So if kapha is ignored, when it is accumulating and it is aggravating, especially if at that stage we are not changing our diet and lifestyle, then it's going to manifest into form of dryness or something else related to kapha. So springtime is the king of the seasons because a lot of growth happen in this season. So and kapha is the dosha, the element, earth element responsible for the growth. So also that's why the weight is easy to crop on in the body in the spring as well. And as the heat is rising in the environment, the digestive system goes down. So naturally, as Dr. Nahid was saying, anorexia is a problem related to kapha, the loss of interest in the food or nausea. These kinds of problems happen, and that happen as the heat is slowly rising in the environment, digestive system goes down. And in the spring and in the summer as well, digestive system is very weak. So we don't need to eat too much of food anyway. So these are some of the strategy here, how to balance it with the diet, with the lifestyle, and with the herbs. There are different treatments in Ayurveda as well. There are different modalities to deal with the imbalance, but I'm looking at these three different modalities of Ayurveda here. So in the diet, some of you who are old here and have done my cooking classes and have done our lectures, you know there are 6 tastes of food in the Ayurvedic nutrition. So Ayurveda say you avoid sweet, salt, and sour taste. Why? Because they're heavy taste, and kapha is heavy, and like increase like, so you don't want to increase the heavy element in your body. So you cut down on the rice and you cut down on the other heavy food in this season, and you increase pungent, bitter, and estrogen taste. Funny, it's interestingly, nature give us a lot of bitters in this time of the year. Like the naturally you will see in your garden, dandelions start growing naturally, which is bitter, and a lot of bitter sprouts and bitter greens are going to be in season around the spring. So we should include more bitter, more pungent like ginger and cinnamon, those kind of spices in our diet. So we should emphasize more on the pungent, bitter, and estrogen taste-rich foods. And dry food, not very kind of fat and healthy oils in the diet. Warm food should be warm. In the Kapha season, food should not be cold. No salads yet. And the light food. So food should be light in nature, like millets, quinoa, those kind of grains, lentils, and all that. And old grains are better, even though this is the harvesting time of the year. But we should avoid the new rice and new wheat because they are very heavy. They still have a lot of moisture. So that's why we should prefer the old grains, because they are more lighter than the new grains. And as much as grains, seeds, nuts, whatever you're eating, you roast them, make it lighter. And the seasonal fruits, seasonal bitters, all that I already said. And split peas are better choice of dal over the moong dal around this time of the year. So chana dal, split pea, tur dal, because they're more astringent, so they are more preferable for the people who are eating dals and all. And roasted chickpea, roasted nuts, spices in the cooking. So pungent spices like ginger, as I said, black pepper, cumin, cinnamon, all those spices are better for the Kapha people for cooking around this time of the year. And no yogurt, because yogurt will be very heavy. But instead of yogurt, the wonderful drink around this time of year to enhance metabolism, to pick up the digestion, is spicy lassi. So lassi is you dilute the yogurt, like 1 tablespoon of yogurt into 1 glass of water with the spices like hingu, which is asafoetida, black salt, and trikatu. I know these terms are new for some of the people. These are the spices. You can ask in the questions later. And in the Kapha time of the year, naturally, skin problem also come on the surface. So chicken pox, measles, mumps, acne, some of the boils, that kind of skin issues are more common around this time of the year. So I would recommend this wonderful herb called neem. So either you mix the quarter or half a teaspoon of neem powder with water and make a little tablets and take one of that every morning. Or it's very bitter. If you find it difficult to take, just take it with honey. So take it only for 2 weeks, and it's a great prevention to all of the skin diseases in the Kapha season. And also because Kapha is a heavy element, so if you're struggling with the weight problem, asthma, mucus, so the fasting is very kind of beneficial, liquid day is beneficial, and the spring is a wonderful time to do the detox. But you get in touch with your Ayurveda practitioner before you start doing any of these strategies. And then in the lifestyle, Dr. Brennan said the Kapha time of the day is 6 to 10 a.m. and 6 to 10 p.m. So you better get up early before the Kapha kick in the environment and start moving. So more exercise in the spring. Your body naturally have a bit more energy in the springtime because of the heat picking up and the heavy element from the body start lifting. So for that, you better get out of the bed as soon as possible. We talked about Abhyanga, the oil massage in the autumn, about the time of the year. Kapha time of the year is more better for dry brushing, lymphatic drainage massages, or there are special gloves that you wear and doing those Garshan massage. Udavartana is you make a powder with oats and lentils, so it's kind of a dry powder that you rub on your body. So no day nap, no sleeping during the daytime for Kapha people. Very bad for weight gain and all of that. And continuing doing your routine of tongue scraping. Neti is clearing your nasal passages with a special pot with this line water. And Nasya, we talk a lot about Nasya. So that is a special oil. You put a drop of oil into your ear, each nostril, to keep the infections, to keep the hay fever at bay. And for the yoga, there are a lot of chest opening yoga postures and pranayams. I cannot go in detail about which one, but most of your yogis here, so you would know. Otherwise, get in touch with if you have kapha problem, asthma, you start doing chest opening exercises. And colorful, kapha is a dull element, so you need to wear color in your house, and even for uplifting your senses, start using aroma oils. We have a wonderful Kapha Tea. So Kapha Tea is a lot of blend of the spices. So drinking 1 or 2 cups of Kapha Tea with honey is also very good for moving the mucus in the body and all the digestion. If you have skin problem, you can put a little pinch of this neem powder into the bath and bath with it, shower with it. And burnt sage, actually Ayurveda recommend fumigation. So burning sage and these wonderful herbs in the house, because of the dry effect of the smoke, is helpful. And also the dry sauna and the dry heat is recommended to take in for the kapha people. So quickly on the herbs, all these terms might be new. All these herbs are available on the Ayurveda website. But again, I would say consult your Ayurveda practitioner before start taking any of these. So if you have dry cough, cold, flu, in general, Sitopladi is a combination of different herbs blended together. And it's a wonderful herb for the cough and sinus and a lot of other issues related to kapha. Pipali is a long pepper. Chyawanprash we talk a lot about, wonderful immunity jam, you can say. And Manjishta is another herb to open up the lymphatic channels, because for kapha people, lymphatic system is very sluggish. And then these 2 herbs to number here is for sinus and allergies. MP16 is the nasal oil. And Kapha Churna and the immunity spice mix is people who are new to spices and they don't know which spice to use, how much spice to use. These are the ready-made blend of the spices to use into your cooking. Okay, and so I just want to show this colorful slide because it's very fascinating how our festivals around this time of the year are so much around this change in the season. So today is Makar Sankranti. So that colorful picture there is the festival of India that's happening today. So they do it was some places celebrated it yesterday and half of it will be going today, and that's kind of northern solstice, the change in the season. So it's a celebration, and the people naturally make a bonfire, so as the dry heat to the body, and they eat these little sweet balls. You say that's the jaggery and sesame seed, and jaggery and sesame seed is very drying for the kapha, especially the sesame. So people naturally eat that in the culture. And they fly the kites and a lot of colors and that kind of celebrations are going on. So that tells us how our costumes and cultures are already correlated to Ayurveda. And in the April, I think in the March or April, this festival of Holi is coming where people throw colors. And this is where people come out and have a social life, dance together. And I think that's very good for the mental, that the kapha people tend to get depressed. So the social life is very important. So these festivals are there to support that. And in Ireland, we're going to have the Easter, the growth, new life. And I know a little bit, but I think people traditionally do a fasting around the Easter time, which is very much, again, correlated to Ayurveda, the fasting in the Kapha time of the year. So this is the fascinating, our culture is here. If we tune in, there is so much knowledge already in the different cultures, which really is amazing. So, okay, thank you so much. I'll finish it here. So hope it's a bit more clear about kapha, and kapha is a very positive, very kind of a lovely element in the body. So thank you, back to Noel.
So Rajvinder, if you stop your share.
Yeah. Where is the thing? I lost it.
Down at security, I think.
Yeah, I think.
Or maybe I can do it from here.
Yeah, maybe you can do it. I can't find it.
Oh, yeah, I was able to do it. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
Okay, thanks very much, Dr. Rajvinder. That's very interesting. And actually, it's interesting what you said about kapha. Like, and sometimes people say, "Oh, kapha is not the great dosha," you know. But actually, kapha is a fantastic dosha. And me personally, I wish I had more kapha in me because I'm pitta vata, And I could definitely do with some more Kapha in me, because Kapha grounds you. Kapha is very stabilizing, and it's also full of strength. So it gives you a lot of stability and strength. And actually, I notice a lot of very, very successful business people can be Pitta Kapha, because the Pitta gives them the drive, the ambition, the intellect, all of those things, and the Kapha gives them the stamina. Whereas I am Pitta Vata, so I have the drive and the ambition and all of that, but then I run out of steam after a certain amount of time. So that Kapha is a wonderful thing, and there's a lot of questions coming in about should everybody do these things. It's as usual with Ayurveda, it's not one size fits all. It's actual, it's your own individual nature. If you're a very Pitta person, this season is very nice, because I love the coolness in the air and all of that. And it doesn't really, I've never had sinuses, I've never had hay fevers, I've never been overweight really, I've never had those, any of those what might be considered Kapha issues, because I'm a very, very Pitta person. I have an awful lot of Pitta in me. But people who are of a Kapha nature, and people who do suffer from sinuses and do suffer from hay fever, then this information is more relevant to them, and they need to make more of those changes, particularly in relation to the detoxification, and drinking the ginger tea and drinking all those things to keep the Kapha in balance. Because as we say, as the heat comes off, the Kapha melts, and then it comes out as all these different allergies and things that are there. So I think that was a really great presentation on Vata, Pitta, Kapha. There's some questions coming in there. So I'll just unmute Dr. Naheed. And I think all the doctors are unmuted now. So Dr. Brennan, if you said to go back to you wanted to give a little summary of the...
Yeah, I did. First of all, I think that was brilliant. Thank you very much, Dr. Naheed, because immediately from your talk, people were already recognizing the sort of imbalances that occur with Kapha, and how wise with the questions. Is coronavirus a Kapha problem? And you see all the locations of chest and stomach and tongue, and how all the Kapha symptoms are there for the people going down with COVID. And COVID, is killing people who are completely Kapha imbalanced, like heart failure, like diabetes, like obesity. So you see it in the news, and it's just so obvious, all completely Kapha imbalance. And then COVID comes along and unfortunately takes these poor people. And you wish for them that they had this knowledge. But now, what we're talking about here today in terms of balance for the season is also going to protect you and help your immunity in case coronavirus arises. And yes, someone else asked, is asthma Kapha problem? And he'd answered that nicely in the questions. It's a Vata Kapha problem. So it's amazing how quickly you perceive these things when you know just that little bit of knowledge from Ayurveda. It makes it so wonderful. And then, of course, Rajvinder's very inspiring and very uplifting talk of what we can be doing and how it's natural at this time to do these things, and how our festivals and how our whole culture is orientated around this. And in this part of the world, the Kapha comes in perhaps around the 21st of December with the change of the sun. And then we have all this big feasting, which is trying to balance Vata from the last season as we eat our Christmas dinners and so forth. But then we start thinking about exercise and making New Year's resolutions, and how naturally it comes to us to start thinking about getting exercise, getting out and about, taking on new things. So we're trying to balance Kapha through these resolutions. As we go on, people tend to get SAD, depressed, because it's winter. They tend to put on weight, as Rajvinder said, because it's winter. They tend, at the end, as Naheed was saying, in May, to get hay fever, because this is a Kapha problem emerging, as Rajvinder said, with the melting of the Kapha at that time. And so when we see how obviously, commonsensical this is, and in the tradition, we had Lent, 40 days running up to Easter, fasting to lighten us up so that we didn't get these heavy qualities of Kapha. And then Easter is beginning to demarcate a new time where we have to spring clean, as Rajvinder was saying. So in summary, the things we want to do, and it's repetition just for the sake of your learning, rise before Kapha Time. Kapha Time comes in between 6 and 10. So be up early. Be up at 6 if possible. And I know someone said they feel like hibernating at that time and it's very difficult to get out of bed at that time. Well, out you get. And what came to my mind is I went to school in a boarding school, and the priest, to get us out of bed in the morning, he had a big set of keys. And if we weren't out of bed with the bell, he lifted the bottom of the bed and you got it on the sole of the feet. And that got you out of the bed. So maybe you need something like that to get you out of the bed, but it's good to get up early in the morning in the winter and to have exercise. Exercise is brilliant for Kapha. So having regular exercise. If we're very Kapha, instead of the oil massage, as Rajvinder was saying, a dry massage, then dress in bright colors. I love that from Rajvinder. And choose the Kapha reducing diet. And Rajvinder gave those wonderful recipes as well. And a liquid day, we come to Lent, but one day a week eat lightly, fruits and soups, have just liquid for a day. Great in the winter. And then the Chyawanprash and the MP16 we've been recommending, the MP16 of the nostrils as an antidote and a protective against COVID, and the Chyawanprash to strengthen our immunity. So those were just a simple summary of basic, simple things to balance Kapha.
Thanks very much, Don, for that. Thanks very much. There's lots of questions coming in there. I just noticed one. Someone said, does that mean if you're Kapha, you're more prone to catching COVID? No, I wouldn't see it that way. I mean, we're all prone to catching COVID. Anybody, it's a virus. It just travels. If you're unfortunate enough to be beside someone that has it and enough viral load comes out and it goes in your nose, then you have the virus inside of you. It's how it develops. Anybody can catch it. It's how it develops inside of you and how it reproduces itself, and what you do to your immunity to stop that from happening. Now, what we would be saying is that people that have Kapha imbalances seem to be the ones that are suffering the most from COVID, and seem to be the people who are dying from it. But just because you're Kapha doesn't mean you're more prone to actually catching the disease. But it's how your immunity and how your system deals with the thing. And it's not saying that someone that's Kapha is not going to be able to deal with it. Kaphas are very strong, but if you have these Kapha imbalances already, I would feel that that's where the problem comes from. Maybe Dr. Brennan, you'd like to comment on that as a...
Absolutely, yeah, and that's the kernel of the matter, Noel, there, the imbalance you're saying. We want our Kapha to be balanced so we don't get flus, we don't get colds, we don't get sinusitis, we don't get hay fever. That's why we want to know about Ayurveda and know our own nature, because as you're pointing out, different strokes for different folks. Vata people may also need to keep Vata balanced at this time of the year, but they still would do well with a little bit of extra exercise and with a bit more spices in their food. So, all of us can benefit through some Kapha balancing at this time of the year, but it depends on the individual. And the more Kapha you are, the more you want to be on this regime, and that's going to be preventative. And that's, ideally where we would like to be, rather than actually having to treat and heal. So.
Yeah, and the thing is that even if you do catch COVID, it's not that someone gets COVID and then they're straight into hospital. People catch COVID, and then what happens is after 5 days, the symptoms start coming out, and then it can get progressively worse or it can get progressively better. And if it gets to a stage where your breathing is difficulty and there's major symptoms, then you ring the hospital and you end up being taken into hospital. But there's so many things that you can do initially to help build your immunity even before you get it. But even if you do get it, there's so many things that you can do in traditional medicines to help your immunity, to help fight that. And I think anybody that's concerned about that should definitely look at the video we made last week on boosting immunity to help fight COVID, because those essential days between the 5th day and the 14th day, you should be better by the 14th day, really. I've had a good few members of my family get COVID now, and most of them experienced 3, 4, 5, 6 days of discomfort and then got better, but obviously that's not happening for everybody. People are experiencing greater and greater discomfort, but there's so many additional things that we can do during that period to help the body fight off that infection, because that's what it is. It's an infection, it's a pathogen.
Yeah. In general, Kapha people have very good immune system. They don't get sick that easily if they're in balance. So Kapha will be the last one in the family to get sick if they are in balance. So the teaching here is about imbalance. If Kapha go out of balance, if it's too much, then these things happen. And it can happen to anyone, as Noel said. Yeah, kapha could be too much in vata people, kapha could be too much in the pitta people. It's not only for kapha. So that's what you're looking in your physiology.
Yeah, and similarly, the same question was there that if I am a Vata person, should I also need to follow this regime? Of course, you are going to follow this regime, you know. Of course, you're going to focus on balancing your Vata, but as you are in the Kapha season of the time, you might catch hay fever or any other symptoms. So you need to just do a little bit of changes in your diet and lifestyle so that you can keep your Kapha in balance and you don't get any of the disorders which can be, you know, because of imbalance in your Kapha.
If you're eating too much cheese, maybe stop eating cheese.
Yeah, and having milk or golden milk, especially in this Kapha season, do not have golden milk in you know in the evening time or maybe later when you're going on bed. Just consult with your Ayurvedic physician that what time they're recommending. But I would recommend that have it in the morning time so that you know your Kapha doesn't get imbalanced.
So back on some of the questions, M. Kamrul.
Okay, Noel, you're muted.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'm unmuted now, Don, and your camera's off, Don, I think, so you can switch on your camera. Rajvinder, you can come back on to us, and Dr. Naheed.
Yeah.
So listen, I just want to say something there before we get into the questions. So that video, obviously, we made that earlier on this year, actually, you know, and Dr. Rajvinder talked a lot about detox, and we've actually decided that we had a meeting today about it, that we're going to do a spring detox, a group one. Generally, it's just done with one physician and one person, but we're going to do an actual spring detox starting at the end of March, and we have a webinar about it on Monday, this coming Monday, when we will go through everything about that spring detox, what herbals are involved, what foods are involved, what the purpose of doing it is, what the costs are. Everything will be done on that webinar on Monday night. You have to register for that webinar. There's about 400 people registered for it already. If you haven't already received the link, I'll send it out with the review tomorrow. And if you're interested, it's going to be a 7-day detox that we're going to do running up to Easter. I think it actually ends on Good Friday. I'll send the link out for that tomorrow. And then if you're interested in that, come on Monday evening at 7:30, and we'll describe what that whole program is going to be. And then if you want to go ahead and register for it, then you can do that. I'll show you how to do that and everything like that, you know. So, okay, everybody. So that was fantastic on Kapha. That's a great overview. Dr. Brennan gave a lovely overview of all the three doshas and where their roots are and everything. And then Dr. Naheed gave the breakdown of the different sub-doshas of Kapha. And then Dr. Rajvinder, as usual, wrapped it up with the very practical things that we can do to help balance Kapha. The other festival, of course, that we normally have, even though we don't have it this year, probably is St. Paddy's Day, which is again in the middle of the Kapha season, but it's getting everybody out in the fresh air, and it's a big celebration. And so that's a thing that's very good for Kapha people. So, okay, I'm sure there's lots of questions in for the doctors.
Yeah, Loretta way back asked about folliculitis and carbuncles of her scalp. And Loretta, I think it's not a pill for an ill situation. You probably want to improve digestion and clear ama from your system, reduce the pitta and the kapha. But you could certainly start with using more turmeric in your foods. And there is a healthy hair and a healthy, probably radiant skin would be a herbal to try, but it could also do well with a detox actually. But that's something, if you don't get on top of it, have a consultation. And Esther asked about teeth grinding, which is a difficult one. Many people suffer. It's a Vata type of complaint, and it's tension, really. It's tension. So the more that you settle and the Vata, and especially the mind and the muscles, the meditation, the massage, it's something that it might also benefit from some very, very gentle craniosacral type of manipulation. If there's some little disturbance here that needs to be reoriented, that might be a help.
The wormwood oil on the belly button. So sometime in the old time, this complaint was very much common in people with little worms or parasite in the tummy. That goes very kind of old saying. So the wormwood oil or walnut oil will be very gentle. So you, rather than taking it, apply on the belly button. And also because through belly button, you can calm down the vata a bit. So try that first as well with the craniosacral therapy as well.
There's a very good question about honey. So there was a suggestion that honey can help to balance your kapha. So there's a question regarding if honey is sweet and sweet is forbidden for kapha dosha. So how it can help? So honey has other qualities as well, like like diet, and that has an aftertaste which is astringent as well. And these qualities are too dominant that helps, because the light quality always helps to balance the heavy quality of kapha. The hot quality always helps to balance the cold quality of kapha. That's why honey is recommended if you're looking to lose your weight or to balance your kapha, preferably early in the morning.
Yeah,
And
there's a question also about an Ayurvedic remedy for hay fever. So that was completely covered in that talk as well. You need to start dealing with hay fever long before it becomes a problem. So, because as we say, it's just a kapha melting in the system. So don't allow it to build up. So the time to start dealing with hay fever is now, or earlier in the year. And the thing about honey, Ayurveda reveres honey, absolutely reveres it. But in the equal terms, it talks about its toxic effect if it's been heated too much. So we never heat honey. We never cook with honey. We make sure we have cold pressed honey, and we get organic honey if we can. And I went to Spain a couple of years back. Someone told me about a lovely Ayurvedic honey in Asturias in Spain. So I decided, because, we were looking for a good honey to sell, that I'd travel over there to see what it was all about. I met the woman that owned the beehives and everything. She took me up the mountains where they had the honey, and we have stocked that honey ever since. And it's cold pressed. The forest where the bees were in the middle of nowhere. There was no pesticides or anything like that, So we have that on our website, cold pressed Ayurvedic honey. But if you don't want to get that, get a local honey, but make sure it's cold pressed. It's good to buy local if you can as well. We would like a good Irish source, but cold pressed honey if you can get it,
And there's a question about omega-3s, and the seeds are very good for it, particularly flax seeds. Flax seeds have a lot of omega-3, and chia seeds have omega-3 and omega-6. The sunflower, pumpkin, sesame, they have much more 6. So I'd favor the flax, because omega-6 can be pro-inflammation, where omega-3 is soothes inflammation. And the next course is it's a repeat of this course. It'll be a repeat, the next course that we do. And there's questions about vertigo and dizziness, and they are vata problems. And the general themes that we're emphasizing again and again about the general balance of vata. And the other thing I would use there is the nasal oil. Someone asked about licorice in the nasal oil. I'm afraid if you cannot take licorice, I wouldn't take the nasal oil, because it'll end up that you'll swallow some of it. So sorry about that. Use sesame oil perhaps in its place.
So there's a question about, quite often someone with asthma also has eczema. Is that due to kapha dosha, which is the best remedy for eczema? Asthma is a condition of due to imbalance in vata and kapha as well. And eczema is a condition where kapha is predominantly involved. So that can be correlated with each other, and you need to focus on the kapha. Dr. Rajvinder has given too many examples of herbs and spices, diet, where you can adopt in your daily routine and can balance your kapha. But if you're looking for such specific, then I would advise like to have a consultation with a Ayurvedic physician of your choice, because it should be tailor-made. It should not be a general advice when you're suffering with conditions like asthma and eczema.
There's a very interesting question for you, Dr. Brennan. Kavita, to everyone. What does dosha exactly convey? In simple Hindi, it means fault, but I assume it doesn't mean that in this context. Well, it actually does. Dr. Brennan, do you want to?
Anna Carey is getting a lot of things
Yeah.
perfectly right here. She's having some beautiful answers, setting us a lot of work and giving us a lot of fulfillment to see people so knowledgeable about Ayurveda. We can retire. So well done, Anna Carey. Yes, dosha means impurity. So you're made up of impurity. Now, isn't that absolutely shocking? But the reality is, if we were fully awake in that field of pure consciousness, if we had retained our memory and were fully enlightened, that would be an absolute state of bliss and vitality and insight and love and wisdom, and that is our pure status. That is our actual reality. However, having decided to look out and pursue this maddening pursuit of wealth, of materialism, and being raised in a materialistic culture which is completely disconnected from the reality of our spirituality, then that loss of memory means that our awareness has become impure, and it therefore creates this impurity of doshas. And yet nature is so kind. Nature has so beautifully organized for us that even though we're immersed in impurity in a mad world, perhaps if we're not very careful, a species approaching extinction unless we cop on and discover our purity. Because what nature has discovered is that if we can balance our impurities, the balance of vata and pitta and kapha creates a total realignment of everything in body with all the vitality of mind, with its source in consciousness, and we wake up, and as a consequence, as a species, we rise to our responsibilities and we take care of this world. And that's our goal.
Very good. Okay, so it's a good question. I hadn't scrolled down to see Anna's answer actually. So she gave a very good answer as well, you know. Noel, can you tell us a bit more about the detox week? No, not really. Come on the webinar on Monday night. We have a whole webinar for it. So just come on Monday night. We won't take up the time about it here. If you want to find out about the thing, we'll have a whole webinar, Q&A, everything. Dr. Brennan's going to explain everything. Rajvinder is going to go through all the different herbs. I'm not sure if Dr. Naheed can come on Monday night, but if she can, that'd be great. And you know, we'll have a Q&A after it, and it'll all be discussed there. So anyone even slightly interested in doing the spring detox, I'll send you the link where to register tomorrow in the email.
Vicky,
clear.
Go ahead, Raj.
There are a few Kapha questions. Seems like it's very clear to some people, but there is some confusion as well. Like people are saying why a Kapha can't take almond, the golden milk, or no dairy for Kapha. So what we are talking here is we are talking about the imbalance. Like if we in the springtime, as this heat is going to rise in the coming days, hopefully in Ireland, but that's melting Kapha, and that is kind of mucus and natural Kapha issues. As around Christmas time and in the lockdown, as we all know, we have built up some Kapha and weight. So we are talking about the imbalance when Kapha is a bit too much in the body and body's asking to get rid of it through some symptoms or some things happening in the body. In that situation, it's like, okay, you eat light breakfast and self-reflect on your hunger, and then maybe you avoid dairy. Depends on how you're consuming dairy. Either that's the story about the dairy, that is it taken straight from the fridge, or is it boiled with the spices and things like that. So some Vata people start getting confused and they start following it and they not feel good. So this is in general advice when there is Kapha imbalance going on and you think you can deal with it on your own. So then you just follow this simple guideline and you can bring slightly raising your Kapha back into balance. Like you're feeling a little bit congestion in your nose or you're feeling a little bit sluggish. So then you reflect onto this kind of a simple strategy and you just bring the Kapha balance. But if you don't have any Kapha imbalance, you may be a Kapha person, but you may be a very balanced Kapha person that you don't need to do all these things. So just educate yourself a bit more on that. These are the strategies when you say, oh, this is my prakriti, which is my body type. Do I have a vikriti here? Do I have an imbalance here? That's what you need to kind of see. I saw somewhere Joanne gave a very nice kind of 3 attributes to dosha, where she said,
Yes.
3 perspectives. That's a lovely perspective, Joanne. Thank you. And she's like, it's what dosha do, what these elements are doing in the body, and what they do when they're in balance, and what they do when they're out of balance. Exactly. That's what you need to kind of, as I said earlier in the last lecture, it's a seesaw situation where you're trying to balance a little bit of imbalance here and there, and that's it. And it's nothing, maybe it's not manifesting into any disease or anything. You may have a very good immune system, and somebody was saying the jury's out about the COVID and all that slow immune system and all. It may not be kapha. Yeah, immune system could be compromised because of many. We are not ignoring vata and pitta here. A vata person can easily contract COVID if they are very stressed and very worried. So it is different situation for everybody. So yeah, so that's just knowledge here that you're using of vata, pitta, kapha. And remember, we have all the 3 in our body. They all doing their different jobs there. And that's what vata is doing, all the movements, pitta is doing all the transformation, and kapha is keeping us together. So they all 3 beautiful elements in the body doing different function. Sometimes we do too much of sleeping, and that heavy elements build up. And then we balance it by with movement. That's what we have to do. Hope it's more clear.
And I love the treat vata like a flower, treat pitta like a cloud,
Yeah,
treat kapha like you're their cheerleader.
Anna is very creative.
Brilliant,
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah,
And so there's just to get through, I really go back to the earlier questions, so I'd like to get them done as many as I could. 50-year-old, Vicky has a 50-year-old sister with small lumps in her neck under her chin. Any advice for the cause or the remedy? Vicky, I'm not sure what to say about this, but this whole area is guarded by lymph glands, and if there's any little infection, lymph glands tend to start popping up while the infection is going on, and sometimes they can be there for a few weeks and then they fade away. If there's a lump that's there and growing, then I would see the doctor about that one. So hard to say what to suggest for it, Vicky. Nirma scarred cornea from shingles in her eye. God love you. I think, you know, Nahid and Rajvinder, were they here, they would be doing a treatment for the eyes, which would have been nice. A netratarpin, it's called. But the scarred cornea, it might be soothing to put a rose water on an iPad and just lie down with the rose water. iPad might cool and soothe some of that ache and pain. And just the more balanced you are generally, you know, the easier these complaints that are chronic start to become. And maybe it's possible to heal. Every individual is unique. Hypothyroid and hypercholesterol, Chandra, yes, kapha. So do everything to balance kapha. There are kapha, the thyroid as well is a metabolism thing. So stimulating the digestion and metabolisms and getting a little exercise, but there will be specific herbs for that as well. And turmeric, Angela, is a spice for pitta. So that's something that pitta can use. Saraj had triple paste on the website. You heard us wrong. I think it might have been triphala that you should be looking at. Triphala. Triphala. That's the only thing that sounds like triple paste, but we weren't talking about triple paste. We might have been talking about triphala. Sonia asked a difficult question: how much turmeric powder? How much with ginger? I mean, that's the good chef that you know develops the sense for these spices. But probably a half teaspoonful, wouldn't that be it, Raj or Nahid?
Quarter teaspoonful, nearly.
If you're using a liter of water, turmeric and ginger for Sonia, because
That's right.
you use less because it's warming and it's drying as well. So, and then you use more of the vata balancing with it, could be fennel and cardamom. So I don't know what is the recipe, what we are talking about. So turmeric is a bitter and it's a very drying as well. So that's why it goes combined with the fat. So with the ghee or milk. And ginger is also could be very warming for pitta people. So you use in moderation, same boiling with the milk or cooking with the ghee first to neutralize it a little bit. So, but I always say to people when you're cooking, when you don't know how much, quarter teaspoon is not overdoing at all. So start from there.
And we have a cookery course on tomorrow night, a live cookery course. We had a replay last Monday. We had a lot of people on that. We have a live cookery course tomorrow night with Dr. Rajvinder, so you can get details about that on the website. And Katie Chester says my hay fever is usually in July. Yeah, that's what was said in the video. That's it. The heat comes out and melts the kapha, and then you get all these things. But if you don't allow the kapha to build up, now is the time to be dealing with your hay fever in July, not in July when it's too late. It's now, and detox and those things, balance and kapha are very, very important. We're just at the end of our time here.
And somebody, 2 or 3 people were asking for the slides. And you see, I think you forget that you can review these tapes. And as you review them, you can stop a tape and take everything you need down from the slides. So I don't think we should ask Noel to be sending out extra.
No, we're not sending slides anywhere. We're not sending slides for various different reasons. We're not sending slides, but you can review the video. So you can look at the video again and you can write down whatever you need to take off the slides. Actually, we quite often get asked for slides after we do PowerPoint slides, but we don't give them out, you know. So, but as you can say, you can review them on the video anyway, you know.
And Jyotisha was asking about vitiligo, and we went through that in such detail the last talk that she could just review the last talk we did on pitta. And Gillian asked about ojas. What I said in the slide was it depends on your lifestyle, it depends on your quality of your relationships, it depends on how stressed or unstressed you are, and on trauma. Those are just 4 factors that are pretty dramatic for ojas.
So someone there saying, do you have a list of Ayurvedic practitioners in Scotland and the UK? Just Google it, you know.
www.apa.uk, Ayurveda Practitioners Association.uk.org.
.co.uk probably. Just
.co.uk.
The Ayurvedic Practitioners Association. You'll find a lot of things, you know, but try get someone who has at least a BAMS, you know, or a medical doctor who's done Ayurveda as well. But the BAMS is the official degree that Dr. Rajvinder would have and Dr. Naheed would have, you know. So because or someone who's a member of an organization like the APA. Okay, where there's no possibility of us getting through all these questions. We're 48 new things coming in, so I think we're just gonna call it a day now. So listen, that's
the trick is to get your question in early.
Yeah, and it's hit and miss whether you're going to get your question answered anyway. Like there's an awful lot of people on the calls. And really, as I've said, and I say all the time, if you want to really take up Ayurveda in a very strong way, then organize a consultation with a doctor and have a personalized plan for yourself, you know, especially if you have a serious condition, because this is not a substitution for a consultation. This is just a general talk about Vata, Pitta, Kapha and Ayurveda. And so it gives people a flavor of all the different ways that we can approach different disorders and things like that. But really, you know, this is just general advice. For specific advice, have a consultation.
But it's so wonderful, actually, because we're seeing people who have taken on board the general advices, and then in the chat lines in subsequent lessons are telling us the immense benefits. So that's very fulfilling.
Yeah, but a lot of those people have also had consultations as well, and I feel that they're nearly the stronger ones, you know, like people like Tamara and things like that, you know. So if you have a serious condition, if there's something that's really worrying you, then my advice is to have a consultation with a doctor, you know. But anyway, so listen, we are on tomorrow night for the cookery course. We're on Saturday for our yoga. We're on Monday night for our detox webinar. I'll send you the link so that you can register for that. And then we're back next Tuesday. We've done Vata, Pitta, Kapha now. So next Tuesday, we're doing the rhythm of the day, the cycle of nature.
I'm beginning to wonder, will Noel let us off at all?
Probably not.
Yeah, we need to give him a hand. People are asking about the immunity video. It's on the YouTube channel. Just go to the Ayurveda Center YouTube channels.
They're asking about which, the immunity video.
Immunity drink. I mentioned that
Oh
already.
yeah, the drink that you make. Yeah, it's on the, as I said, I showed you last week where the link was for that. There's tons of stuff on that thing, on that YouTube channel, you know. Okay, everybody, a big thank you to Dr. Naheed for staying up late and joining us.
Naheed.
And
Thank you.
big thank you to Dr. Rajvinder and Dr. Brennan, and a big thank you to everybody for coming on. Have a great weekend. Maybe we'll see you over the weekend, but if not, we'll see you next Tuesday for our penultimate, the 5th lesson, the 5th class, which is very important, the rhythms of nature, the cycles of the day, the cycles of the season, the cycles of life, and all of that will be covered in the next lesson. So namaste, everybody. Have a lovely weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well.